Per reports, the Pittsburgh Steelers are apparently having internal discussions about trading for wide receiver T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. And also, Hines Ward has been hired as a coach. But first, before we get into this video, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you never miss out on Pittsburgh Steelers news and updates. And also like the video. Let's get right back into it. So, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they are on a hunt for a wide receiver, whether that's through the free agency market, the trade market, or the draft. And the Pittsburgh Steelers are a hunt after following their decision to trade Deontay Johnson to the Carolina Panthers last month. One player generating excitement among the NFL besides Brandon Ayuk is T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals, because he is not satisfied with his current situation, his current contract situation with the Cincinnati Bengals, and he has expressed a desire to be traded. He has signed a 1-year, $21.8 million contract, which is his franchise tag, but he is unhappy playing and being franchise tagged without a lack of long-term commitment by the Bengals. As a result, he has made it clear that he wants out of Cincinnati. Whether the Bengals will grant his request of a trade remains uncertain. What we do know is the Bengals GM has made it clear that they want to keep Higgins on the team, but we all know sometimes that is all talk just for the media and things go on behind the scenes. So they are keen apparently on retaining Higgins and navigating their roster of star players with hefty contracts. But per reports, the Steelers naturally are eager to acquire a standout receiver. And just like some other names of standout receivers, star wide receivers that are available that the Steelers have been linked to, now they are being linked to T. Higgins. And this is reported by 93.7 The Fan. Apparently, this is the quote. The Steelers have had internal discussions about trading for Bengals wide receiver T. Higgins. They love the player, but there's questions about acquisition cost and his next contract. Plus, there's an issue of the Bengals trading him in the AFC North division. End quote. So, just looking at that statement, the Pittsburgh Steelers having internal discussions, you have to take that with a grain of salt, especially when people are saying per sources and the sources are not listed. I'm giving you this update, but we still don't know if this is 100% true. It might just be because the Pittsburgh Steelers are an easy link to any wide receiver because that's what they need on their team. They have George Pickens with actual experience. They have Van Jefferson with experience but has barely played the last few years, has been a number 4 receiver. They have Kwon Alexander, who just played last season after being injured his whole rookie year. So it's easy to link the Pittsburgh Steelers to any wide receiver that becomes available. They've already been linked to Brandon Ayuk via trade market. They've been linked to John Mechie III. They've been linked now to T. Higgins. They've been linked to Tyler Boyd in free agency. So any wide receiver that comes available, it seems as though the Pittsburgh Steelers are being linked to it. And that's just an easy link because that's what the Steelers need. Also through the draft, where the top targets, the top positions of need has been linked to a wide receiver. So every single time a wide receiver becomes available, the Pittsburgh Steelers are being linked to them. That's why this might just be an easy link to say, hey, the Pittsburgh Steelers have had internal discussions about T. Higgins. I'm sure most teams have had the discussion about wide receivers or just players in general that become available. If a player is requesting a trade or is unhappy in their situation, obviously probably a team who needs a certain position has talked about that player. Whether it's big discussions or little discussions, more than likely every team has had the discussion. So saying that internal discussions have happened, yes, that's just an easy report. And even if those sources aren't actual sources, it's just an easy thing to say because of the situation the Pittsburgh Steelers are in at that position. But now that we had that conversation about this topic, let me just say about acquiring T. Higgins. It would require a huge investment by any team. And it would require probably even more from the Pittsburgh Steelers because of being in the same division. Firstly, there's a matter of offering the Bengals a compelling package to bring him to Pittsburgh. And additionally, there's the financial commitment involved in acquiring T. Higgins and his contract, and then considering his long-term salary implications. So there would be even more of a burden on the Steelers to give up even more to the Cincinnati Bengals. Just say the Cincinnati Bengals would have wanted a first or a second round draft pick. The Pittsburgh Steelers would more than likely have to throw in something else because it is within the same division. And who knows if the Bengals would even want to trade within the same division. Then you would have to play T. Higgins, the former player, twice a season, in which he knows your team, and there's just even more burden on you every single time you play that player. So more than likely, the Bengals wouldn't want to trade within the same division, but if it did happen, it would take even more of picks or a player to get the deal done to make it worthwhile for them. Also, the Steelers. If the Steelers were to trade for him, they would have to give him a huge contract. He's probably looking for a 4-year contract around $25+ million per year. And do the Pittsburgh Steelers really want to pay a player that much money who's not even a number one receiver? Yes, he could be a number one wide receiver, but he wasn't with the Bengals. Obviously, that was Jamar Chase. Are you going to pay a player who is being kind of putting up stats, maybe based upon Jamar Chase taking the kind of load of the defense, the double teams, so it left Joe Burrow, who's a great quarterback, throwing the ball to T. Higgins on the number 2, number 3 type of cornerbacks? Are you willing to pay that much money for unproven number 1 wide receiver? That money that you would be spending is number 1 money. And he kind of plays similar to George Pickens. What does George Pickens and T. Higgins do? Well, both of them are contested catch type of receivers, big body receivers, and they're not pure route runners. And that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers need. They don't need another guy like George Pickens. Sure, if they could, might as well get him. But are you really paying someone that much money to have basically the same skill set as another receiver you already have on the team? Or would you rather have a player like a Deontay Johnson type, where he's going to be a route runner and someone who could create space and get open? Yes, they traded away Deontay Johnson because of many reasons, which I already got into in the past. Contract, hold-ins, and just locker room situations. They traded him away for a reason, to get a cornerback as well. So they're probably looking for that type of receiver. And the other receivers, like Brandon Ayuk, would make more sense. First of all, he would cost less than T. Higgins. They'd probably take less to trade for him as well, because it's the 49ers. And the 49ers, Brandon Ayuk has made it clear that he basically wants out. Without saying he wants out, he basically wants out. And you make it clear, because you're not trained within the division, it's going to take less. So it makes more sense getting a Brandon Ayuk type of player for all the reasons, and the route running, the blocking, and everything like that, and then getting a player that's already similar to someone you already have on the team in George Pickens. So in my mind, it doesn't really make sense of why the Pittsburgh Steelers would be interested in this trade. They probably had the internal discussions like reported by 93.7 The Fan, but will it get done? Probably not. Also, on top of that, Higgins does have an injury history that may contribute to the Bengals not wanting to pay him a contract. He's been sidelined 9 different times since entering the NFL with different type of injuries. So it seems like a common occurrence in that regard. But in 2023, it was also a down season for him due to injury as well. He put up 42 receptions, 656 yards, and 5 touchdowns. He's only passed 1,000 yards 2 times in his career. So he has a 4-year tenure with the Bengals, and him getting that much money, it doesn't really make sense for a Pittsburgh Steelers standpoint. So in my eyes, it doesn't make sense. Now, moving over to the second topic of this video, Steelers former player, wide receiver, Hines Ward has been hired as Arizona State wide receivers coach. So, Hines Ward, he was with the XFL as the head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas, and he's a former Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver, obviously. That's why I'm covering this. And just today, it was announced he was hired as Arizona State wide receivers coach. So congratulations to Hines Ward for him finally getting an opportunity to coach. I'm not going to get much into his resume, but he was an assistant wide receivers coach for the New York Jets in 2019 to 2020. Now he is hired by Arizona State. So congratulations to him. But with that being said, that's the end of this video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below about this T. Higgins situation. The Steelers apparently, per reports, having internal discussions about trading for him. What do you want them to? Do you think it would be too much, or should they go a different route? And if they do go a different route, who do you want? Whether that's through the draft, free agency, or trade. Also, let me know your thoughts in the comments below about Hines Ward being hired. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to turn on notifications for this channel so you never miss out on anything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, reports, analysis, highlights, reactions, and everything like that. I've covered all. I'll continue to cover all. Every new player we have gotten, their introductions are on the channel, and the draft is around the corner. So all of those new players as well, I'll be covering. But until the next video, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.